Hello and welcome to Community Connections. I'm Iowa City Mayor Bruce Teague. This show is designed to keep people informed about community response efforts to the coronavirus outbreak. We know this is a rapidly evolving situation, so we hope this program provides some clarity on what is being done to slow the spread of this disease. While I've been mostly speaking with our community partners, today I want to change our focus to Iowa City actions to keep our residents safe and healthy. From facility closures to service changes, we want to catch you up to speed on what steps we've been taking. To provide some insight on what's been happening in Iowa City is City Manager Geoff Fruin. Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good to be here.
Yeah, so happy that you're joining us today on this, what it looks like a bright, sunny day out of your window.
Actually, a little rain behind us now, but I'm fortunate to have some good views out here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of things that's been happening continuously with the city. And so there's been various closures that I wanted to talk about from the Parks and Rec, City Hall. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what went into that thought process?
Yeah, our decisions on facility closures are really based solely on the guidance that we're receiving from the federal, state, and local public health officials. We have to make sure our actions reflect the best interest of the public and our employees. So at this time, all the facility closures that we've announced will be closed at least through April 30th, consistent with Governor Reynolds' emergency orders, and that does include City Hall, Senior Center, Library, our recreation centers, and a few others.
Are there other things that I know that we have these closed, but what can people do specifically at the library? I know that there are some online options through the library and potentially through our Parks and Recs.
Yeah, it's been really amazing to see how our staff has shifted the focus to online programming. We've always had some level of online programming, but that's really been pushed out pretty hard here the last few weeks. So you can access a number of the library resources online. They're pushing out story time and other children's events as well. The Senior Center has been doing a large push on online programming. You can visit their YouTube channel, connect with them on social media, and there's classes that you can take through the Senior Center. And then in Parks and Recreation as well. Everybody's been focused again on trying to produce some content that people can use at their home. We realize that people are kind of cooped up in their homes a little bit these days and need some new outlets. And so our staff is working hard to provide those. So best advice I can give is to look at the social media sites, look at the websites for connections to some of those activities.
A lot of adjustments are being made, but it's good to hear that there are resources that people can connect to, through the internet to continue to engage in some of the activities that is offered, those that you've mentioned so far. Of course, City Hall is closed, and so a lot of people are used to coming in and paying their water bill and that type of stuff, as well as our Iowa City Housing Authority. What are the impacts of some of those closures?
Yeah, for us, it's really just trying to push the communication that you can still take care of that routine business online or over the phone. So we encourage folks to call or to go online to make payments or to speak with one of our customer service representatives. If you're not familiar with the online payment system and it's a little intimidating, we can help you out over the phone, kind of coach you through that process, or we can figure out other ways to help you and make sure you have the access to those critical services, be it housing or our utilities.
Yeah, I think there's people out there that really appreciate the online opportunities that they have now, but they can also call the office for some of those directives as well.
That's correct. We still do have a limited number of staff that are able to take those calls for those critical services. So we ask that you're patient if you call. It may take a little while to get to it, but we should be pretty responsive and be able to help you out and get you on your way.
And a little bit, I want to talk more about like the critical staff and how the staffing is at the city. But I wanted to take a step back and just actually talk about what is happening with the outdoors, because we want people to get outside and to enjoy walks and stuff like that. Our parks, the play structures are now closed, and we're encouraging people to really stay off that. What are you finding as far as people getting out in the community to walk around in the parks and enjoy, long walks and even maybe some kite rides in the air? So I wanted to know what you're hearing from the activities in our parks.
Yeah, we still do believe that our parks are going to serve an important role during this kind of stay-at-home period. People do need to get out and enjoy the fresh air, and our parks are there for that purpose. We just ask that people be safe and responsible in the manner in which they use the parks. Some facilities at parks have been closed. Mayor, you mentioned playgrounds. We have posted all the playgrounds, and we are asking people not to utilize those during this health crisis. But if you want to get out and take a walk around your neighborhood park, we encourage you to do that. Again, just be responsible and follow those social distancing guidelines that you've heard so much about these last few weeks. Try to avoid any gatherings, whether planned or impromptu, in shelters and areas like that in our parks. And then we also ask that you really try to stay in your neighborhood and not be tempted to drive out to our larger parks. But we have seen some larger numbers at times when the weather's warming at our dog parks or on popular walking trails like Terry Trueblood Recreation Area. We just encourage you to stay in your neighborhood, take a walk on the sidewalks, meander through your neighborhood parks, but avoid getting in your car and driving to those larger parks where you might see a few more people out there.
Well, the weather is certainly warming up, and so we anticipate that we'll continue to see an increase of numbers of people being in our parks. One thing I would stress to everyone in our community is to wear masks when out in public. I think it really does decrease the risk, but I think for those that may be asymptomatic with COVID-19, it will decrease the risk of spreading it. And so I think anything that we can do to spread that message to ensure that people are safe, even when in, the open air, as you would call it, I think it'd be pretty critical for people to continue to do some of those social distancing activities, which would include wearing a mask. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about as well is transit. There's lots of changes in our transit. We started out with, transitioning to more Saturday type services or spring break type services. Can you talk a little bit about how the transit has transitioned and a little bit along the way of how that decision was made?
Yeah, transit really is a tricky one for us because we know that so many people depend on transit for their employment, for groceries, for healthcare services. So we want to continue to offer that service because it is truly essential for those that need it. But we also want to message to others that you should really only be using it for those essential purposes. So it's there if you absolutely need it, but we really don't want you to be using our transit system if you do not need it for those essential trips. What we've done today is we've reduced the service levels. We still have coverage in all parts of the community, but the frequencies are down. We are using our base Saturday service, and we've supplemented that with a few extra routes to make sure that we have the geographic coverage in the community that we need. But the buses may not be coming around quite as often as they otherwise would on a weekday. We've eliminated the fares and required boarding in the back when possible, and those have really been done to protect our drivers and to keep that appropriate distance between the passengers and our drivers. And I want to thank our drivers as well as the staff. We've been doing extra cleaning and maintenance on our buses. They've really stepped up during this difficult time to provide this critical service. But for their sake and for the benefit of the entire community, I really want to stress to the public that you should only really be using our transit system if it is for an essential trip. If it's not for an essential trip, stay home, stay within your neighborhood. If you need to get out, take a walk, but do your best to stay home.
I think it's critical for the transit to continue, as you've mentioned. We've revised it a little bit so that it can allow people to transition to where they need to go for medical appointments, food, and to work, because people still need that for work. We have some frontline workers like our police and our fire. Thanks to all of them for all that they're doing. We know that COVID-19 has brought a different level of emergency type services, critical services. And I know that even in our office, we've kind of decreased the amount of people that are actually in the office, allowing people to work from home. Can you just give us a little bit of update of what that looks like? Because it's kind of a ghost town in City Hall.
It sure is. Well, our number one focus through this entire crisis has been to make sure that we can continue to provide our essential services at a very high level. So this is our police, this is fire. These are the folks that are making sure that you have clean water and that our sewer system is fully functioning. And then we mentioned transit, but also our residential waste and recycling services. Those are really the core of our services that we, from a very early stage in this, identified and said we have to make sure that we can continue to provide those services to the public, no matter how long this duration is, whether it's a couple of weeks, a couple of months, 6 months or longer. Those are really critical for the community. So where possible, we've cross-trained additional employees in this areas, and we've really overhauled staffing models to limit the interaction that employees have with other employees and with the public. When possible, we're keeping employees on a work from home or a report from home basis. And this includes even within our police and fire departments. So we're just trying to make sure that we're putting the right amount of our police and fire employees out on the streets so that they can meet the calls, again, at that very high level that the public has come to expect. But if we have more staffing than we may need, then we may have some folks that are reporting from home on their given shifts. And again, it's just an effort to make sure that we keep our workforce healthy and that we can sustain those kind of basic core operations that people depend on us for throughout the duration of this crisis. A huge thank you to all those employees in those frontline areas. They're being asked to do some very difficult things at this time. Obviously, social distancing can be done in a lot of positions, but social distancing can't be done if you're a police officer or a firefighter very easily. Those are some unavoidable interactions that they have, and those folks are out there on a day-to-day basis providing those services despite these tough conditions. So kudos to our staff. We're doing the best to protect them long term, but they're still in a tough situation and rising to the occasion and delivering those services each day.
I know that I've seen some of your emails to staff and the gratitude that you're giving to the staff for all that they're doing. Thanks for doing that. And again, from me and City Council, thanks to all of our staff for what they're doing. We really appreciate it. We know that it's a large ask, especially for those frontline workers to continue to work where their risk is really high, to receive COVID-19. But yet they're doing the protective measures to the T, and I think that is keeping them safe. Council, of course, we are looking at different ways of how we're connecting with the community through our Tuesday council meetings. And again, we're going to be connecting via website, via Zoom. And so anybody that wants to come and be a part of that, the public is still invited to come and give community comment on any item that is there. And so I wanted to just throw that out there so people know that council meetings are still happening at their regular schedule. And so if people do want to chime in on anything, please, connect with us through Zoom, and we'll be able to have you interact even with our council meetings. So appreciative for all the staff workings on making that happen. Very different world that we're living in, but we're adjusting, that's for certain. So one other thing I wanted to talk about was like the community partnership that we're having with because this is massive. This is changing how businesses operate, how people are operating. And what are some of those partnerships within the community that the city is doing currently to help kind of navigate the COVID-19?
Yeah, Mayor, you're absolutely correct. Partnerships are critical for a crisis like this. We're active participants each day in the Johnson County Emergency Operations Center. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as EOC. And the EOC brings together cities, county agencies, including public health, hospitals, community, nonprofit leaders, state and federal government officials, and many more to ensure that we have a coordinated and efficient response. So without this type of collaborative framework, our response would be far less effective and decisions would be made really without the benefit of health guidance or the understanding of impacts to other partners in this crisis. So really fortunate to have the Johnson County EOC operating the way that it has been through this. And then outside of that emergency response framework, there's all kinds of partnerships being formed in the community as well to help us through this. We have nonprofit agencies that are coming together and working through, whether it's through the United Way or the Community Foundation of Johnson County, or just among themselves. We have the business community, the downtown district, the business partnership, ICAD, Think Iowa City, coming together to serve all their members in a collective manner. All those partnerships are absolutely key to not only getting us through this crisis, but helping position us to rebound as quickly as we can once this crisis has passed.
I've been super impressed with how the agencies, although they're separate entities, they're really coming together and navigating this process in ways that were unimaginable to me, where they are really partnering, ensuring that they can collaboratively provide whatever service they can within our community. So again, thanks to Iowa City, Johnson County EOC. We meet on a daily basis, Monday through Friday at the city at 9:30 a.m. to reflect on what responses we need within our city efforts, as well as what recommendations we need to make to Johnson County EOC. I've really been impressed with the process. We have some professional leaders that are on that team from every department at the city. So for those out there in the community that think, what is Iowa City doing? I have to tell you that we really are monitoring this COVID-19 and its impacts and trying to get ahead of it and being creative in ways that we can support our community. So thanks to you and all of your leadership in that process. It's been busy, to say the least.
Yes, it has. Mayor, thanks for your support and for the support of the City Council. And we talked a little bit about in this interview about some of the frontline staff that we have, our transit workers, police, fire, water, our refuse workers. But I also want to give a shout out to all the folks behind the scenes, whether it's the IT staff that made all the work from home arrangements, accounting staff, human resources, and so many more that have really come together to support our operations. It's been truly an amazing process to watch. And of course, that's just the city. We're just an incredibly small piece of the overall response effort. And there's a huge kudos that goes to all those nonprofit agencies and their workforce that are working hard as they see increased demand. There's the staff at our medical facilities and pharmacies and food service and grocery staff and so many more. I'd leave some out, but those folks are truly the brave ones working through these challenges on the front line on a daily basis. And that's who needs our support right now. And it's hard to give that support sometimes from home or from an office setting like I'm in right now. The best thing we can do is to really keep following that social distancing guidance, as hard as it may be, as long as it may be, and it's going to help all those frontline workers out. So, as we've been saying, people have heard repeatedly, we all have a role to play, whether we're on those front lines or not. And if we keep playing that role, we should get through this hopefully sooner rather than later.
Well, thanks again for all you're doing for our great city, and to everyone out there, continue to do what we can to keep everyone safe. So thanks again, Geoff, for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. You can keep up to speed on all the city response efforts by heading to our website, icgov.org/coronavirus. We post daily updates on city announcements and closures, along with resources from trusted health experts. We all have a responsibility to keep informed and practice social distancing. Together, we can help flatten the curve. We'll be back with another Community Connection on Thursday. I'll be chatting with Katie Knight of United Way of Johnson and Washington counties. Take care, Iowa City.